Hi, welcome back to the course, and we are working on a very nice, interesting, another Dowland piece, Mrs. Winter Jump. Mrs. Winter Jump, yeah. Well, sorry for my accent, I do my best, but I'm from Brazil and I should speak like a Brazilian anyway. So, this piece is quite easy. I've just talked about the use of the figueta. In that piece, that knowledge is irrelevant. In the whole piece, there are only two very short excerpts where if you want to, you could use the figueta. But such a challenge for just this kind of benefit, I don't think it's efficient. I don't think it's worthy. So I would just, how I played, I have ignored this knowledge I have on the figueta in this piece. However, if you listen carefully, I did stress where it should, although I didn't use the thumb on the strong fraction of the beat in those cases. If you're curious where that would be, I'm talking about measures 5 and measures 8. So I measure 5, which is one of the most challenging measures of the piece. You'll notice we have on the first third of the beat a strong note, that's right, it's a beat, the thumb. Then we have a note on the second beat, but it's fraction in fourths. Therefore, you should use the thumb also. And so in the order F sharp. There are many other places where you could use the thumb also, but the thumb is occupied also playing pieces, playing notes on the bass voice. So it wouldn't be able to play on the soprano anyway. Only on measures 5 and 8 the thumb is free and available to play notes on the second and on the third fraction of the beat when they are fractioned in 60th, or as in measure 5 it's 1/4 of 1/3. That would be 1/12. I don't know even how to say that in English, but 1 out of 12. I don't know if I'm telling it right, this fraction in English, sorry. Please write in the comments how should I say this fraction. 1 of 12. I don't know how to, 1/12th. Please write on the comments so I can learn. Therefore, don't mind about the figueta, as I was telling before. Just play the right hand normally as you would do on the classical guitar, and on those two measures just bear in mind that you have to stress the second and the third fraction of the beat. Okay? The fingering is quite easy, and the fingering on the edition is very good. You can follow it. In only 2 examples, I've decided on my own, for my taste, to play a little bit differently, as you may notice on the video where I perform this piece. However, this is so cosmetic, aesthetical, that although it makes sense for me, probably it won't make sense for you. So you can follow the fingering as published, but if you look at the fingering I'm using and decided to use the very same one, that's also okay. That's not really the point here in this piece. And what's the point? Is being able to play the rhythm accurately. So we must have first a very serious discussion. I know during your very first years learning the guitar, learning how to read music, you may have used some mnemonics, some combination of words and phrases to learn some rhythms. And it's fine to use them when you are learning how to read music. But when you are reaching a higher level, you must be able to count rationally the rhythm. It shouldn't be something that you feel or something that you memorized. It should be something that you count accurately, like a real watch, precise. And probably this is the very first piece that you will be demanded that. This is a quite an easy and short piece. And of course, in the internet, there are several videos with tips, and also you can listen to recordings so often, so you memorize the rhythm. There are many ways for you to avoid counting precisely the rhythm. Yes, there is. But if there will be a time when you will be demanded to be able to count the rhythm precisely. And depending on how long you postpone solving for good this problem, it may arrive in a such hard piece that it will much worse try to solve them in the future. That piece may be your chance, the chance of your life to solve for good with, well, it needs effort, but without trauma. This ability that you will be required in the future if you keep evolving. And I hope you keep evolving, and count on me to keep evolving on your guitar playing skills. So, you should count the rhythm precisely, including the subdivisions. This piece is a 6 and 8 measure, and this measure for some theory schools, it's always a composite binary measure. I don't know if the pronunciation is perfect in English. In some other musical theories, this measure can be a compound binary measure, and it can be other stuff. But in this case, it definitely is a binary compound measure. So no matter how your local teacher approaches harmony or the measure counting, they will agree. Therefore, you should count with 1, 2, and thirds in each amount between each number. What I use and what I recommend you to use, but you can choose any other different way of counting. I just ask you to choose counting methods which you change what you're saying. I really don't recommend you to use ta 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 ka 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 la 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 la, or ta 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 ta, or whatever, the very same stuff all the way, because then you lost count, or in which of the tas, which of the das you are. So whichever method you use to count the beat and the subdivisions, please choose one which you say different stuff always. So the one I recommend you is 1 la li 2 la li. When you have a fraction, and here we have half of a third, a sixth, then I recommend you to use key. You don't need to count the key in the whole beat. You can use only when it's needed. Depending on the speed, say La and key may be tricky, so you can change when you have to use the key for ka, ki, ji, ki, or ka, ki, ki, or whatever. Okay? Just for the pronunciation to be a little bit better. I don't like the ki, ka, ki, because then you have this problem with the ki. Which key are you? So I use ka, ki, ji, ki, then I know where I am. I use, when I have to count fourths, the number chieta. So 1 chieta, 2 chieta. Okay? Or I've heard some people doing also the same but without the consonant. So 1 I-e-a, 2 I-e-a. That's great. What's important is you must be telling different stuff always. So 1 I-e-a. 4 different sounds. Great. So we have here a fourth of a third. Then you, instead of counting the number, you count the beat of the fraction. So measure 5. We have the first third, a note on the first third, then a note on the beat of the second third, and the third note of the measure is on the fourth of the second third. So how do you count that? 1 la li, 1 la eta li, 1 la eta li, 1 la eta li, 2 la li, 1 la eta li, 2 la. You see that probably you will have to practice how to pronounce the fractions, especially if it's your very first time counting the rhythm, or if you're used to the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, or whichever similar to the ta-ta-ta. Therefore, you have to practice this piece by sections, and this piece is very easy to be divided in sections of 2 measures or in sections of 4 measures long. Not more, not less than those. So you should practice slowly with the metronome. Unfortunately, I can't turn the metronome right now, but use the metronome, especially if this piece of music is really fitted to your guitar playing skills. You should be playing very slowly first. By slowly, I mean 30, 40 BPM. At the most, if you are a semi-virtuoso, 50. If you really have a higher level and are studying this piece just for, recovering something or remembering something or filling some probable gaps, then maybe you can go 60. But if you play complete sonatas, if you play complete suite, then it's fine for you to start as fast as 60 BPM. But if you haven't played yet one piece of 20 minutes long with all movements, then go at 30 and 40 to start. And you should counting out loud the rhythm. So it should be 1 la li, 2 la li, 1 la li, 2 la li, 1 la ki li, 2 la li, 1 la li, 2 la ki li, 1 la ki li, 2 measure 5 and 6, I made some mistakes. I should work those measures slowly, or maybe I was just having trouble because I was trying to count in a language which is not my native language. I should see what's going on. Work on these very short sections of 2 measures long or 4 measures long, and I recommend you to use some control game to make sure that you're really learning each section before going to the next or before speeding up. I recommend for this piece one game which I called Right or Wrong. Well, this game is really I learned from Philip Johnston. It's not I call. Well, Philip Johnston called Right or Wrong, and I learned from him this game. It's described in 2 of his books, the Practiceopedia, and what's the other one? I can't remember the other one right now, but probably it will be written on the screen, if not on the description of the video, especially if you're watching me on YouTube. The Practice Revolution, I remember the name, the Practice Revolution. And this is one of the oldest control games ever used in music history. You start by using 3 any objects like 3 beans or 3 grains of corn, and you have a starting position. For every time you play right, you take one of these objects to a victory position, and if you play wrong, you take it back to the starting position. If all 3 objects are on the starting position, you take to a defeat position. And if you play well, the object that's on the defeat position can go to the starting position, and so on, and you win the game when the 3 objects are on the victory position. This control game not only makes studying more fun, but it also makes sure that you repeat enough so you have really played right more than you played wrong, and this is very good for you to have a very good recovery on the next study session. You'll notice that if you play right more often than wrong, the next study session will always be easier. And it also makes sure that you are not repeating too much the very same section and not going to the other piece or the other section or whichever other stuff you have to do also. So I recommend you to study in every 2 measures or every 4 measures in sections that long using a control game. First, learn how to do slowly. Don't try to speed up at once, because if you try to speed up, especially counting out loud, as I've said, there will be a moment which it will be harder for you to keep counting in time. It will be much more difficult for you to speak than for you to play. And we are not practicing how to speak fast. We are practicing how to play fast. So I recommend you first to try to do perfectly, slowly, then you can make fast jumps. So I recommend you to study at 30, 40. It's okay that slow, then you double the rhythm, but without saying, okay? And by 30 and 40, I mean not the quarter note as 80, as 30 or 40, because that's almost the tempo. I'm saying each 18th note as fast as 30 or 40 BPM. That's how slow I'm telling you to do. So it's a little bit less than half the speed of the piece, okay? But then once you play perfectly with the control game, Counting out loud, you double at once and just play. Keep using the control game. You will like it. I'm sure you will. There are not so many technical mistakes, and to be honest, if you are having trouble on playing something, most probably that is happening because you are not sure which note you should play. If that is so, only that very section, it doesn't need to be the whole piece, but only that section which you are having trouble, study half the speed with a control game, talking out loud the note names. If you do it once, you will be sure which notes you have to play, and by knowing which notes you have to play, I'm sure you'll be playing them perfectly from now on forever, because that's not a very hard piece. There are not so many technical challenges. It's not that fast, but the tempo, the precision on what you should be playing, that's the real challenge here. And to be precise in music, there's no such thing as reliable as counting. And when you are beginning, when you are in your early stages, that's fine. Using some mnemonic tricks for you to start playing and start reading music and start enjoying this wonderful world of music. But once you want to reach higher levels, you have to act like the pros. And the pros count. So should you. Have fun, nice studies.